For this sketchbook page, I really wanted to play with our heart cookie cutters in my travel sketchbook. So this is a handmade sketchbook that I created using the cover of an old book that I gutted and then added blank pages into. So today I'm using 3 different sized heart cookie cutters and just some basic craft black acrylic paint. And I poured it onto my plate and I kind of stamped and wiggled it around to make sure that all the stencil parts were covered with paint. And I'm just going to start laying down some various angles of my medium-sized heart to break up the sketchbook page and to start adding visual interest. And my plan is to make this a mixed media piece. And so this is the first step where I'm doing stamping with acrylic paint onto the sketchbook page. I'm going to let the hearts overlap and kind of break up each other and the negative space and kind of minimize the negative space a bit, including going off the page, so that I can kind of have an interesting overlapping of heart effect when everything is said and done. I am being mindful to angle them different directions, so I have some randomness, and I did have a little bit of oops there where I bumped the page before I was ready to really press down. But because I'm going to go back into this with other art media, that oops on the top right corner there isn't going to be a problem. It's all going to look great in the end. So now I'm going back to my medium-sized heart just to kind of even that out a little bit. I want a randomness, but I also want an evenness to the variety of times I'm using each of the 3 heart sizes. And these are just plastic cookie cutter stencils that we happen to have in our large supply of fun stencils or fun cookie cutter shapes for our kids. Now I'm going in with a small heart, and I really wanted to work medium to large to small so that I ensured I was mindful about how I use the space and I could intuitively and aesthetically build it up as I saw a need for more marks and more size variation across the page. And you could easily do this with any cookie cutter shape you wanted to. So if you don't happen to have hearts on hand, give it a try with something else. And I'm excited to do some other ones because I really enjoyed stamping into my sketchbook in this way. And there's so many different ways that I can work back into a page like this. So I really think this is going to be a practice that I return to time and time again. Now I decided after my stamps were dry to go back in and fill in the different sections of my sketchbook page with watercolor. So I'm using colors that are very Valentines themed, so pinks, purples, reds, and just having fun mixing those. I picked a color that I liked to start with, and then I'm just starting to map out where on my page I want to put that color and just randomly spacing it out loosely, being mindful of only painting just up to the line so that I don't have to wait for each of the sections to dry before I go back into them. Because watercolor wet sections will bleed into wet sections if they touch. But if I leave that little bit of space from the acrylic stamped line, then I can actually paint sections next to sections as I get further into this piece. So I'm also playing around with a little bit of color blending within the hearts, creating new, different kinds of purples and different kinds of pinks, warming up and cooling down my reds, and just having a lot of fun with this. I am using a pretty juicy paintbrush, so I'm very loaded up with wet watercolor paint and water. I love to just keep things very loose. You could use less water and have more of a controlled effect, and then it would have more of an appearance of acrylic, potentially, acrylic paint, but I really enjoy the different characteristics of watercolor. So I wanted to let the paint play a little bit and have a little looseness and not try to paint every heart in solid. You could do that though, especially, if you wanted to have more of that look or if you wanted to use acrylic paint instead or gouache even. It's really fun to break up the sketchbook page in new and interesting ways, and using the heart cookie cutters for that with the acrylic paint was great. It was really enjoyable. And then going back in with watercolor, a medium that I love, just made it all the better. So I'm extremely happy with how this sketchbook page turned out. I'm definitely going to explore this concept further in different ways with different shapes and using different cookie cutters and stencils and handmade stencils to break up my sketchbook pages even more, and it may even play with some other different colors of acrylic paint too, and just really have a lot of fun with it. So I hope this is something that you are, excited about. I hope that you try it out. If you do, let me know how it goes. I would love to see how yours turned out. So feel free to tag me and let me know in the comments below. What do you think? What other ways could you use a technique like this in your sketchbook or in, an artwork beyond sketchbook work? And what inspiration and ideas do you have for how you could make this in your own way and style? And then for the background, I did decide to do a very pale pinky red, but I could have easily have left it white, and that would have been great too. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to stay tuned for more updates on my channel, more technique videos and demonstrations and creative shares and artistic journeys, be sure to click the subscribe button because I'm going to be having a new video each day of February leading up to February 14th as we kick off this fun season of bright, bold colors celebrating love and friendship. Until next time.